Alright, so a lot of people have been asking me about my homemade garden soil mix. So I'm gonna give out the recipe here. First, Monster starring in the video. Say hi, Monster. She has to be cute and star in everything. Steal the show. Anyway, this is what we call Tina's homebrew. This is where the homemade compost actually starts. So what this consists of is we just have an old plastic container that used to have pretzels in it, and we saved it, and what we do is we put all of our food scraps in it that aren't meat and or bread. So you can see, like, there's strawberries in there, there's some parsley, there's old nasty bananas that instead of, sometimes we save them, which I have a ton of them in the freezer if they get brown, because that's the good cancer fighting qualities, and actually they're healthier that way. So usually we save them, but sometimes if we have an overabundance, we throw them into the compost like we did here. There's coffee grinds, yogurt, and some of this is a mix of clean filtered water and fish oil from, I give my cats and even Monster once in a while sardines from Canada. I have to go out of my way to make sure they're clean sardines and stuff and clean fish, especially after Fukushima. So I drain the fish oil into here as well, because the fish oil is actually really good for the plant. There's nitrogen and stuff in there, like the fish scales and stuff, so it builds up in here, and you can see it's like a science project. It's absolutely disgusting, but it's really good for the plant. There's coffee grinds and even the coffee filters, because I use the compostable ones. So, and we go from there, and I'll show you where we put it. We have a huge hole in the backyard that we throw all of it in. So this thing gets filled up, all right, and it gets to about here, you know, sometimes it gets a little higher. And we have buckets out in the shed, which I'll show you right now. Okay, so now we're in the shed, and this is going to get gross, right? But you'll see, this is what the inside of the compost looks like. And you can see there's maggots forming in there on the organic material. And then we also take any plant clippings and stuff that we trim off, and we throw it in there. Oh God, that stinks. We use the trim from the plants and stuff. We throw it in there too, because A, it's good compost, but B, it also has bacteria from the dirt and the local area where you're going to be planting the garden. So that's why we throw all of our stuff in there, because it's the same, it's all the same stuff. So this stuff stinks. You could see it's absolutely abhorrent. Mold. And this one has food, and you can see there's sticks and stuff in there from trimmings we did on other plants. And what we'll do is, once it sits in here, now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, so I think there's a fifth one back there, so it's about ready. I'll take this and I will go dump it into a hole, and I'm going to show you the hole where you dump it into. Alright, so this is the hole I have dug here in my backyard, and we use this as the compost creation hole. So right now I actually dug all the old compost out, which I'll show you in a sec. It's in my wheelbarrow, which I use. There's only a little bit left here. This is all like material, the grass and stuff that I shook loose after I had to dig holes where the plants are, threw all the, you know, knocked all the sand loose, threw all the grass in there. That stuff breaks down, it's good. There's some leaves from the avocado tree back there, some trimmings, you know, regular yard waste. Into the hole it goes. Then I'll take those buckets and I'll dump like 2 buckets in there, and what I use is the local sand here. This just regular, because this is what Florida is. When you live in Florida, you pretty much live at the beach even when you're inland, right? So because your plants are going to be living in that stuff, what I recommend is whatever your local area is, if it's sand like this because you live in Florida, or wherever dirt, you mix 1/3 of that local type ground material, whether it be, again, sand, dirt, whatever. 1/3 of that, 1/3 of that mess that you just saw, the home brew, and then 1/3 of what I would try to get is just regular raw organic topsoil, clean, nothing with Nothing with fertilizers or anything like that in it. Monster, be careful over there. And nothing with fertilizer or anything like that in it. Just tried to get it clean, regular topsoil. Mix that with your homemade compost mix in the hole and sand. And you want to do a third and a third and a third, basically. It doesn't have to be exact measurements, but you get my drift. Mix it all in the hole and let it sit here. And you know, the sand and the topsoil will cover most of the nastiness and the smell won't be so bad. And what happens is after, depending on how hot it is and where you live, right now it's getting to be, it's springtime, getting close to summer, which means it's going to be really hot and the compost should break down even faster. But, well, I would say like 6 to 8 weeks max. And we started this, you know, we started making our own compost. This batch we started last year, the end of last year, around September, October, we started this. And that's when we started collecting everything, and we threw it in the ground in January. And we just dug it out now in like the end of March, beginning of April. So it does take a while to get made and to compost and turn into disgustingness, but it eventually breaks down, and all of the nutrients will sit inside your little compost hole. And then when you want to plant something, you figure out where you want to plant it, and then you go 2 times the size of whatever you're planting in the ground, and you dig out some of the homemade compost and you plant it. And I will show you really quick as Monster hangs out over here again. She's always the star of the show, ladies and gentlemen. You all know that. You can hear her snoring when I'm on air. And this is what you end up with over here. You end up with beautiful, try to get so you can see it. You end up with like nice homemade clean potting soil, or in this instance garden soil, which you can actually use for in the ground. You could use it in pots too. It's pretty much all around good use. When we start plants from seed, this is what we use inside the pots, and then once we bury it in the ground, we'll take a pot and we'll, like whatever we're going to plant, and you dig a 2-foot hole around it, or a 2 or 3 foot hole usually, depending on the size of the plant that you're putting in the ground. If it's been growing decent, the usual rule is like twice the size of the pot. I usually do like a 2 or 3 foot hole, depending, and I fill it with that natural topsoil that I made, this stuff, and I just put this in there, and you can see there's sand, the topsoil, and then the chunkier brown stuff is all the broken down food bits and stuff that turned into compost in there. And this stuff is, because this is the natural, the sand is the natural ground material that's around here, and you can see the grass and a lot of the stuff around here grows in it really well. See, there's a lot of stuff that grows. My morning glories are starting to grow over here. My little orange tree over in the corner there, right? All of this stuff it grows in the sand down here naturally, and it loves this, absolutely loves this stuff. So what I suggest is a third and a third and a third, right? This, what you see right here, is a third regular topsoil, no fertilizer, nothing, mixed in with a third of the regular sand from around here, and a third of my special homemade compost material, or as we call it here, Tina's homebrew. And you can see after 6 to 8 weeks, it creates this gardening soil, I would call it, and the plants, I should say, love it. You could put plants that are in pots in it. You could use it for regular gardening soil. I mean, all this stuff has been fed it. My little orange tree. Here, I'll go show you the rest of the garden. Raspberry bush. You can see how big the hole I dug around it. Papaya tree, grown from seed out of an organic papaya I bought. Tomatoes, different heirloom tomatoes. Little mini eggplants. I have a banana tree going. He's happy. There's my monstrous tomato plant. This is the one that I Instagram constantly. Look at the size of these tomatoes. Look at this. This is, here, let me move this out of the way. I'm going to chlorophyll all over my hands. But look at this. Look at my hand in comparison with this tomato. Look at the size of that thing. This thing only gets fed what I just showed you, that mix. You can see the hole it sits in. And you got to give them proper supports and stuff. Sometimes you got to build little things for them. But and I water them with rainwater I collect as much as I can. These are my pepper plants. Look at this thing, Dragon Cayenne. It's already producing peppers. This thing, these are like little tiny plants when we put them in the ground. So, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, it's interesting what you can grow in your own backyard. Here's another papaya. This one's grown big. Look at the base on him. Look at the stalk. Again, all of this all comes from the homemade compost. Cherry tomatoes. And this is just experimenting. You know, it's not easy to grow things on a sandbar. And so far, the experiment has been a success. Another papaya. And then, of course, the entire bed of papayas over here. How tall this one is. Let me get out of the way here. Yeah, huge. Look at the stalks on those things. All these papayas came from the same papaya. One organic papaya from, I think it was Ecuador. We dried the seeds out and planted them. Actually, Christina dried the seeds out and planted them. Amazing, right? You'd be surprised what you can do, ladies and gentlemen, when you apply yourself. Garden, grow your own food. It's the way to do it. Right, Monster? Everybody should garden? That's what I thought. Over and out.